what is the current fleet inventory on electric motorcycles, regular motorcycles, cars, vehicles? Go. Welcome to MCC Just Motos. Hey guys, it's Andy. I'm here with Matt and Libby. We're going to be talking EV. They have some long experience in buying, selling, being involved with the entire EV marketplace. They specifically work in the EV marketplace, at least some of them. So we're going to talk to them today. We're going to get the state of the market and see where we're going and see if we can figure this all out. So let's go talk. So, hey, I'm here again with Matt and Libby. And we've been motorcycle friends and riders. And we have a special EV bond on the motorcycle side of the house. So before we get into that, let's just get a little background on you guys are obviously married.
Yep.
Been married for a little bit of time.
Yeah, almost 10 years, yeah.
Wow. How'd you guys meet?
We met in the music industry. We both worked in the industry and met each other that way.
Very cool. And what do you guys do for careers?
So I work in the EV industry. I am more like on the infrastructure side.
And then I still work in the music industry. I have a recording studio in Baltimore, and then I do big events all around the area.
Great. Very cool. And you guys like motorcycles?
Yeah. I've been riding since I was about 9 years old, and been riding street bikes since I was 18. And, as we got older, we started building the collection more and more, and we try to have the right bike for every occasion. And, we ride about 3 or 4 times a week. So, we really like to ride.
All right.
Yeah.
How long have you been riding, Libby?
I got my license in 2021.
Yes.
I had never been on a motorcycle before, and I knew it was Matt's favorite thing to do, so I figured I should join him. And here we are, and I just got my 3rd motorcycle, so I'm pretty committed.
Matt, so you've been riding since 18?
Yeah.
And what's your favorite style of riding?
I like to do twisty back roads is my favorite thing. I have a speed triple that I've always had a speed triple since I started riding. Every time a new generation comes out, I'll sell the old one and get the new one. So that's like my favorite back roads kind of Street Fighter style riding. But I've been getting into some adventure riding and some off-roading lately. So I try to explore all the different disciplines of motorcycling as much as I can as time allows.
Let's get right into this. Let's say what is the current fleet inventory, both on electric motorcycles, regular cars, vehicles. Go.
Okay. Well, we both drive EVs full time. So I have a F-150 Lightning, which I love. It's an amazing truck, and Libby has a Chevy Bolt, and that's a great city car. It's a great car for a first driver. We love that car. It's a car that's not talked about very much, but the Chevy Bolt really can handle any situation. It's easy to park. It's cheap to run. Tires are cheap. It's fast. It handles well. It's got a ton of cargo space. It's got a good stereo. And you can find them for well under $20,000. So that's if you want to start your EV journey, that's a really good place to start for a 250-mile car. So we love that car. We have an S2 Del Mar electric motorcycle, which I love. It's a super fast, really fun to ride, good handling, lots of tech, lots of nice features motorcycle. And then Libby has
Zero S, and I love it. It's my favorite bike. So that was one of the things that was important to me when I decided to ride motorcycles. I wanted to ride an electric motorcycle, and I didn't want to buy one off the bat because they're kind of expensive, and I was concerned as a new rider that I might drop it or I might crash it, and that's really expensive to replace. So Matt brought home a Zero FXE one day. He had a 6-week gig in Palm Springs and I guess he had some time.
Yeah, we had a lot of time to kill.
Downtime.
So and I was looking for an electric bike. Now that was the one that started, was the FXE, and I got a really good deal on last year's model. I picked it up for under $10,000, and I wanted to buy a motorcycle while I was out there because there's so many interesting places to ride, and I was out there for 6 weeks with lots of downtime, and they told me we had a 18-wheeler out there full of our equipment, and they said I couldn't bring home a gas motorcycle because it was hazmat and we couldn't put it on the truck. So I was like, okay, well, what if I got an electric motorcycle? Could I bring that home? And they were like, sure. So that kind of made it worthwhile to get it out there because I knew I could bring it home to Maryland for free on the back of the truck. So I picked up an FXE out there for Palm Springs Motorsports, rode that around for 6 weeks, loved it. When I got the Zero, I was like, oh, babe, you're going to love this bike because all you have to do is worry about your throttle and brakes. brakes. You don't have to worry about the clutch and the transmission. So it kind of lets you split learning a motorcycle into two parts, because you can learn the body positioning and the counter steering and the braking and first and get all that down and make that muscle memory, and then you can introduce the clutch and the transmission later.
So the FXE was a little tall for me, and the reason why I pushed myself to learn how to ride that was because we'd had a reservation for the S2 for 2 years at that point. And I had read that it might be kind of tall, and I was like, oh my god, now I gotta learn how to ride this tall bike too. So I figured I would cut my chops on the FXE, and it's when it was apparent that it was maybe a little bit too tall for me, even though I really enjoyed riding it, we found the Zero S, and the Zero S changed everything for me. Like, I had gas bikes. I had 3 gas bikes, and I couldn't get excited about riding. Like, I was excited about learning something new, but it just, I don't know, it just wasn't hitting like I thought it would.
It was a lot to it's a lot to manage.
It's a lot. I mean, like, riding is so much, and I think people just don't, like, mentally it's exhausting, and like when you're an adult and you're trying to learn a new skill, it's so hard. like most people I know that ride motorcycles have been doing it their whole lives, or they rode dirt bikes growing up or whatever. I didn't do that. I rode horses, which Matt always tells me that, hey, it's like the same thing except it's actually safer. So because horses do have a mind of their own. But
right.
That said, once we got the Zero S, it changed everything. I was so excited about riding. I wanted to go out all the time. I mean, it made me a super confident rider. It helped my skill set. It was just the best. And then when I realized that if I wanted to go on super long distance rides, I would probably have to get a gas bike, so I bought another gas bike. And it's been okay.
What gas bike? What's the motorcycle fleet that we have in the Libby and Matt inventory?
So there's the S2 Del Mar, the Zero S, and the FXE. Those are their 3 electric bikes. And then we both have like a scrambler touring option. So she has a Ducati scrambler, and I have a Multistrada V2S. So those are like our long distance like touring bikes. And then we both have like our like super sport track day bikes. She has a Kawasaki ZX4RR, which is awesome, and I have a Speed Triple 1200 RS, which I really love.
Very cool. And so that kind of gets to my point. So let's just hit the main question off. Is an EV motorcycle the right fit for everyone for all situations? Currently,
I don't think any motorcycle is the right fit for all situations for every person. So the electric motorcycles are the right tool for many, many jobs. So if you've ever ridden less than 100 miles in a day, then an electric motorcycle would have been the perfect thing for you to ride that day. If you like riding off-road quietly, like a lot of people don't realize that with electric motorcycles, when you're riding a gas bike and you're giving it full throttle and you're riding really fast, it's very noticeable, and everyone for miles around knows that you're riding fast. On an electric bike, you have the silent. Sure, you miss the engine sound and all that, but there's something to be said for moving silently, quickly, especially off-road. You can go places that you could never go with a gas bike because you can do it silently and quickly. I ride all over Baltimore. Let's just put it that way. There is not a paved or grass surface that my motorcycle tires on that FXE have not touched. So there are things that you can do with electric motorcycles that you just can't do with gas bikes. They're super cheap to run. They're super cheap to maintain. They're really fun, like for cutting through traffic. The torque they have is unlike anything on a gas bike. On my FXE, a little 295-pound motorcycle, I have beat an S1000R light to light in the city because it has so much initial torque, and you have to dump the clutch perfectly on that bike to not like loop it, and on the FXE it's just like playing a video game. You just give it full throttle and you just have nothing but acceleration. So in the right situation, that bike is the fastest way to get. I think the FXE is the fastest way to get through the city. The point is that there's a lot of things that you can do that people don't even realize with electric bikes, and for a lot of situations, they're the best tool for the job.
So I think you bring up some great points. Have you guys noticed that like you have multiple bikes, multiple different tools for the job? I agree with you. I absolutely do, and I think it's the same way. Unexpectedly for me, my electric motorcycle became my predominantly form of transportation for commuting.
Right.
But I'm not going to take a cross country trip. It just, for me, it's not
right.
the way to go. What do you hear from people? Reservations. And I think, Libby, you might have your ear to the industry a little bit more. What reservations do people have about EVs in general or EV motorcycles? Maybe.
Yeah.
What do you hear?
It's still range, right? I get that all the time, and like, for cars, from the vehicle perspective, most people do not even drive that much. Like, they think that they drive way more than they actually do. Most people drive way less than 100 miles a day. So if you drive less than 200 miles a day, then an EV is actually perfect for you. Or if you have the ability to charge at home, I think that's a game changer. I don't know if I would recommend an EV for somebody that doesn't. I know plenty of people in the city that do, and they will hang extension cords out of their window, which is bonkers to me, but people do it. So yeah, I feel very fortunate that we do have the ability to charge at home with no problems, no extension cords needed.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that people don't realize when they bring up the range issue is that when you charge at home, you're waking up with a full tank every morning. Yeah. So it's like if your car magically had a full tank of gas every time you woke up, how many times would you really need to hit the gas station? Probably never. So it's the same. It's the same for EVs. Now, motorcycles, I think the S2 did the right thing where they sacrificed. They kept the weight down by giving it a smaller battery, but they still gave it a full power motor. And it cuts the range down, and that's the price you pay to have a good handling motorcycle. Because to me, the Energica and the Livewire one, the 600-pound bikes, it's not fun to lug around a 600-pound bike. I don't think it's fun. It's cool that you can level 3 charge, and that kind of solves the range problem because you can charge in 20 or 30 minutes. But I think the Livewire, the S2 range, did the right thing in making it a fun-to-ride motorcycle first and letting you make it the right situation to deal with the 100-mile range, 100-ish mile range. So I don't think electric motorcycles are there yet because batteries don't have the power density yet to really, you need like it's like 1 or 2 more generations away when you have a 150-mile range and it can charge in 30 minutes. Then I think will really be time to question how many gas bikes we're still using. Mm-hmm.
What other things have you heard, industry-wise? You keep your, is it price?
Yeah.
Is it initial price? Is it over distance price?
Initial price is super expensive. But with the vehicles, I mean, if you look at total cost of ownership, it's a no-brainer. So for a car, it makes sense. For motorcycles, we're not really there yet because you can buy a brand new, like a Ninja 400 for $6,000, or but my Zero S, I mean, they don't even make my 7.2 kilowatt Zero S anymore, which I can't believe Zero discontinued. Why did you do that, Zero? But now it's bigger battery, so it's
heavy.
Yeah, it's heavy.
Yeah,
it's not fun. So, but they're so expensive.
Her bike is really neat because it's a small battery, but it has a fast charger on it. So you can make it to any level 2 charger, which you can find all over the place, and charge it in 20 minutes and get another 60 or 70 miles out of it. So it's not that bad to ride for an hour and a half and stop for 20 minutes and ride for another hour and a half. So the battery size to charging speed on her bike is really in this Goldilocks zone we found. And you'll see when we go out and ride the S2, she has 3 kilowatts smaller battery, but she'll go as far as we go on our S2 and charge way faster than we charge.
So initial expenditure. What I will say though, look at the Del Mar right now. It's the same cost as the absolute most inexpensive Harley Davidson.
For Harley, yeah.
So and actually, it's less than that with the rebates and state level and.
But the problem with that is with the cheapest Harley, which is like the Nightster or whichever one it is. That's like a $7,000 motorcycle with a $7,000 Harley brand on the side. And the Del Mar is really like a $20,000 motorcycle that they're selling for $16,000,
Absolutely.
With the tech and the battery size and everything that it has, like you're really getting what you pay for with the S2 in terms of what's available right now. It's still expensive. You can find like a Ninja 400 for $6,000 or like an MT-07, and that basically has like the same performance for half the cost. It's just you have to put gas in it, so there's more maintenance and all that the environmental issues to deal with and all that. But yeah, that's a huge issue is the cost. The cost needs to come down a generation, and the weight needs to come down a generation. Once they're under $10,000, and I really want to try the Kawasaki hybrids that just came out. That seems to be that's really interesting. Because you have the engine, it's like a 400 engine with the e-bike component to it, so you're really getting like an 800 class bike with 400 class emissions and miles per gallon too. So that's an interesting take. That could be a sweet middle ground of price and performance and economy. So it would be interesting to throw a leg over one of those and see how they ride. Okay. The hybrid could be really a cool, way to bridge the gap.
I think they're kind of heavy and expensive.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan. Kawasaki, why did you not make a full electric motorcycle that's good?
Well, okay, there we go. Thank you for adding that little caveat.
Well, yeah, because they did. They made a full electric motorcycle, but it's not good. Like
it's like an e-bike. It's like a
little. It's an e-bike. It's an e-bike that's shaped like a ninja.
It's so expensive. Like you could buy a Ride Anthem at that point, right? And when people try and compare things like a Ride Anthem or a Cake to like a Zero, there's no comparison. None. There's none. So, like, Zero is an actual motorcycle, and, like, Ride Anthem is good, but I wouldn't consider that a motorcycle. It's kind of like a scooter.
Have you guys noticed any ebbing and flow of EV interest?
Well, it's certainly gotten a lot more political than it was in the beginning.
Yeah, that part.
Like in the we've been doing EVs. We've been full EV cars since 2017. And in the beginning, it was more like a tech early adopter, kind of like, like VR or like, any other technology. And it was exciting because, you were really getting a lot for your money back then with Tesla, but it's definitely become a lot more political of a statement to even own one, which is crazy because like electric motorcycling is really fun and it's really neat and it can do stuff that gas motorcycling can't do. Right. And when you go online and people are like, I'll never ride one of those, that's ridiculous, and it's
you can tell who hasn't
yeah
ridden. You can tell, like, it's the same thing with the cars. You can always tell who has never ridden an electric motorcycle because once people ride it, they shut up. Or they'll say, oh, I was like, people will actually admit they're wrong. Some people never will because, it is what it is. But like, okay, so a perfect example, I was at a conference recently and someone was talking about, their values, tying it to the vehicle. And I was like, it's a car. What is political? What's political about your car? I was like, it's a vehicle. It gets you from A to B. There's nothing political about your vehicle. And they could not respond to that because it's silly. It's something that's better for everybody. It's better for the environment. It's better for your health. It's the silence. I love it.
It's cheaper to run. It's more cost effective.
Right? Like we have Ducatis. Like the maintenance is no joke on a Ducati, right? Like take your Ducati in for the Desmo service and come back to me. Like we don't have to do that stuff for our electric motorcycles. There's really nothing. So it's nice. It's really nice to have, like, I just got tires on my car and I was like, what am I paying for? I've had this car for 3 years. I haven't paid for anything except for wiper fluid.
Right. So we've noticed political, which is, I guess, unexpected, right? Like, Is there any other headwinds that you've seen?
So there is, we are right now on the tip of consumer adoption is starting to tip the curve. So we're past the early adoption stage currently, and consumer adoption is tipping the curve. So I actually work on the commercial side of things, which is definitely different and much lower adoption, but that is about to flip based on incentives and regulations.
On the commercial side?
Yeah.
Is that going to drive any of the consumer side?
Oh yeah, of course it does, because you have economies of scale. Like it's just like with solar. Like at a certain point, it becomes so cheap. Like renewable energy. Like when renewable energy becomes cheaper than coal and gas, then there's really nothing holding it back from the market. Because forget about the environment. Like capitalism goes for the most efficient option, and if powering your grid with solar and renewables is the cheaper option, then that's where the industry is going to go. So the more people that are manufacturing batteries, the more people that are working on weight reduction and things like that for commercial level stuff, that's going to filter down to the consumer level stuff. So now that it becomes way cheaper to run your fleet on electric vehicles, like Amazon is finding out, like they're switching all their delivery vans to electric because it's cheaper. That's the only reason. It's cheaper to run. Over the long run, over the course of buying all that fuel and doing all that maintenance, you have higher upfront costs, but it becomes cheaper overall. So businesses are going to go there whether we think there's political demand or not, because making money transcends politics. So if you give the company the choice between making more money or making less money, they're always going to choose making more money. Politics.
But there's also like the trickle down effect, right? That I've seen just from a commercial perspective, where it's even just things like the drivers are happier because they don't have like the droning noise. I mean, like we know firsthand of long haul drivers that were affected by lead.
Yeah.
Because constant
gas,
exposure that is horrible for your health, and the noise.
And the benefits of EVs even have gone into my industry. So like we did the Preakness. We just produced the Preakness infield party, and we used to run it all on gas generators. And this year we switched to lithium ion generators that run all the infield, like the beer gardens and the merch tents and all the concession stands and the stage and the lighting. So this year we switched to all lithium battery generators, and the silence on site, like removing all that background, all those generators, made it such a better experience for the consumer that was there, because you didn't have to walk past all these chugging diesel generators walking around the site all the time. And it was just that you could hear the horses running by, and you could talk to your friends, you could hear the music better. Like it made for such a better experience just having that silence there. So
what about infrastructure? We kind of danced around it. Where are we on infrastructure? What does infrastructure need to be, and what's the time range on that?
That's definitely your area.
It's Libby.
So we're getting there. It is slow. There's a lot of barriers right now. Currently, the number one barrier is on the utility side. So, but the current administration is working very closely. They've passed new regulations to enable utilities to move faster. So,
can you expand upon what does that mean, the utility side?
If you try to install a commercial charging station, it could take months to a year to get that thing connected.
And is it, so you're saying permitting, so it's not.
We have grid capacity. That's not.
So that was my question. It's not the technical. It's the.
No, it's the permit. It's silly.
The bureaucratic side or whatever.
Okay, that are holding it back. So we do expect that to take about 2 years to see actual momentum. Not to mention the incentives that have come out, and that's going to be another 5 years.
And will commercial drive consumer? Or is it going to be both?
Okay, so what's interesting about this is that there are commercial hubs that are opening all across the country, and some of those commercial hubs will be opening their sites temporarily to the public.
Okay.
So I think that is a really fascinating business model. It's a way for them to continue to monetize their asset, because unfortunately, if you look at Arai and a charging station, it's not great. But if you think outside the box and you have long-term goals, they are achievable.
All right, so last question of the day. I want your predictions. When's EV gonna overtake time frame? You guys get.
What year is it now?
We are 2024. I think between 25 and 40, because remember, fossil fuels are a finite resource. We are currently set to run out of gasoline at 2050. Now, the more people that drive electric, it might push it out a little bit further, so keep that in mind. I don't know why they're pushing hybrids. Everyone's so hyped on hybrids, and like hybrids are okay, but to me it's like the worst of both worlds, I mean, like, I have no maintenance on my EVs. It's amazing. It is the most, like, I don't have to think about it. So like when the service light comes on in one of my like Ducatis, I'm like, ugh, I gotta take this thing in. My Kawasaki, we just got it. We're almost through a break-in period. I'm gonna take that thing in for its break-in service or whatever, and like, you don't have to do any of that stuff with an electric motorcycle. So it's just nice.
If you look at battery technology, it pretty much makes like 5 to 8% a year steady gains. So if you look at it from that point to get to where we're like 150-mile range on motorcycles with a 30-minute recharge time, we should be right around 2030. So maybe like 1 or 2 more generations of electric motorcycles, and we'll be at the point where they have similar capacity to a gas bike. And that'll be the time where you're like, is it really worth all the maintenance and noise and upkeep and all, because if my S2 went a lot farther and I could charge it faster, I wouldn't need as many motorcycles. Like that could replace a lot of my collection if it had a little bit more range and a little bit faster charging.
I mean, current battery technology is slated to be where we would want it to be in about 10 years. So I ask my friends that work on the battery side of things all the time. I'm like, what's going on? Where are we? And they're like, it's still 10 years, Libby. And I'm like, come on. I'm like, hasn't there been any breakthroughs? And like, I just keep reading. That's all I do is just read about battery technology. And, because I just want my electric supermoto. That's all I want. So I know Ducati's working on one. I'm very excited for the Ducati one. I'm so excited for it. Ducati speed it up.
and the Triumph TE1, what happened to that?
I know.
Like they developed it and then they're not going to release it.
Well, it's crazy because these companies put so much into R&D on these things, and they're still doing them.
My guess is it's price. I'm sure, like, because I know Triumph got got the performance on par with the Speed Triple.
Yeah.
But I bet it's just too expensive to release it, you know, because you can do it, you know, it's like one of those things, it's like you can have it quick, faster, you can have it cheap, good, or fast, you know, pick two, you know, so they probably made a bike that had the right weight and had lots of power and capacity, but the cost was just so crazy that it didn't make sense to commercially release. So we still need another couple generations to either get the cost down or the capacity up, and then I think it'll be time to reconsider how many gas bikes we own.
Cool. All right, guys, so you heard it from Matt and Libby. Thank you guys so much. So they are friends of mine. They subscribe to my YouTube channel. So if you have any EV questions, please drop a comment below. I'm sure you guys will be happy to answer them or relay, and we'll get those questions answered for you. But you know what? We've had enough talking. I think we know what we need to do. We need to go ride. So we're going to go head out for a ride. Guys, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. And we're going to head out for a ride, and we'll catch you on the next video.